The Toddcast podcast on toddhancock.ca.
Dude, thank you so much, and I guess big thanks to Chico and the crew for helping get this kind of organized here. But man,
Yeah.
I mean, oddly, I just actually spoke to Rex about his solo album that's coming out,
Right.
and I was saying to him that one of my most memorable concerts was Pantera back in the day, opening up for Skid Row in Vancouver. I think Cowboys had just come out, and you guys fucking destroyed. It was one of those times when the opening act blew away the headliner. We actually drove, dude, from, I don't know if you know British Columbia or not, but we drove from the Okanagan, from Penticton, 4.5 hours to see the show, saw the show, drove 4.5 hours back to work the next day, kind of thing. So
Wow.
we're looking forward
Very
to
cool.
seeing Hellyeah. So
Yeah, man. I think it's this Monday night, man.
it's coming up, yeah. Commodore Ballroom, June 12th. And of course, there's lots of talk of super groups with the passing of Chris Cornell, Audio Slave, Temple of the Dog. What do you think of the term super group? It's had to have come up with you being in Hellyeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just something that kind of comes along with it. When we put the band together, we never intended on it to be a super group or anything like that. We wanted it just to be like five guys getting in their garage and jamming and starting from scratch again,
Right.
And that's the way we approached it with Hellyeah, although, the media moniker did have that super group attached to it quite a bit.
Yeah, and what do you remember about the first few times you guys got together and played? Was it boom, instant chemistry, or was it something you guys had to work at?
No, man. We had chemistry from the start. It was really magical and very, very therapeutic, because it had been about a year and a half or a little longer since my brother had been taken from us, and I'd done everything in my life with him, man. And, I wanted to be in music, but I just didn't know, if I could even do it again without him or anything like that. And these guys came along, man, and we just had magic. I felt like Don was patting me on the back and saying, "This is what you got to do." And it just fell right in my lap, man. So it was really something that was meant to be.
That's cool. And you knew Chad, of course, prior from, you guys toured and stuff with those guys, right?
Well, no, actually, none of us knew each other. I toured with Tom when he was in Nothing Face. But Chad, I spoke to him on the phone for about 15 minutes. I really liked where he was coming from. And about 2 or 3 days later, they all flew to Texas, and we found out we had a whole lot in common. We did some barbecuing, and we did some drinking, and then the next day we went down to the studio and started writing music, man.
That's great. I kind of want to get back to when you were growing up and stuff, if that's cool with you. And I want to talk about the music.
Yeah,
what bands were your parents playing? What were you being exposed to as a kid?
Well, my dad was a country and western music artist. And so they always had David Allan Coe and Waylon Jennings and that kind of stuff going on around the house.
Yeah.
But, it didn't really do it for me, and my cousin started playing, Kiss and Ted Nugent and all that kind of stuff. And I went, wow, this is what it's all about for me. And then my first record I ever bought was Kiss Alive, man. And from that point on, man, I was hooked on hard rock and heavy metal. And, I knew that was going to be my destiny one way or another.
Yeah. It's amazing, dude, how many musicians, I guess just people in general, reference that record specifically from Kiss Alive. What is it about that record, and what is it about, how come it's so hard to capture a really good live performance?
Just that record has magic all over it, not to mention that, Kiss at the time, and still to this day, seem to be larger than life. They have those figures, the people that they are, Space Ace and Gene, the Demon, all that. And it really was more than just the music, it was the image, it was everything that came along with it, and then, we learned a few years later that live performance, obviously had some enhancement done to it, but everybody does. I mean, live, nobody's perfect, so it's just the flow of that record's great. Everything about it just works, and it's really special. The picture on the back with the banner and everything. It was rock and roll, heavy metal to me, all in one package, man.
No doubt. And was there one drummer specifically, or was it drummers who inspired you more than the rest?
Oh, heavily influenced, believe it or not, by Peter Criss. As simple as he was, he played some really cool drum parts that you could air drum to this day, stuff that's just very cool.
Sure.
And then, of course, I fell in love with Alex Van Halen. I think he's one of the most underrated drummers there ever was. And, the guy that made us all want to play drums, John Bonham. I mean, he's one of the greatest there ever was. And then for me, big inspiration as far as playing the double kick drum was Tommy Aldridge. When I discovered him with Pat Travers' band, and then he started playing with Ozzy and Whitesnake and all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could do stuff with his feet that most people couldn't do with their hands, man. It's just insane.
Right. What was your first concert?
My first concert that I ever went to was at Tarrant County Convention Center in 1978, and it was Boston with Sammy Hagar opening up for him.
Wow.
And it just blew me away, man. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, like I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to take some of that. That's cool, man. Vinny, as you might imagine, when I posted on Facebook that you were going to be a guest of the Toddcast, I was flooded with questions for you. So let's get to some Hellyeah fan questions. Okay. Connor is curious how social media has helped your band.
I think it helps every band. I mean, it's the way it is today. If you don't have it, you just really basically can't survive. It's a great way of just staying in touch with your fans constantly. And we feed our social media quite a bit. I like doing it. I like the interaction with the fans, and they really, have an opportunity to really feel like they live a day in the life of your life, as they follow you on tour and in the studio and things like that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be able to, actually keep up with the bands or the people that you like. I mean, you never would have got this 20 years ago.
No, but there was also a lot more mystique back then,
Right.
People, had this mysterious factor about them that people wanted to go see because they didn't know enough about it, and kind of lost that with the social media being part of it now.
Yeah, because back in the day, it was like you waited for Rolling Stone and Spin and Circus and Metal Edge and the rest. Like, that's how you were finding out about the bands that you loved, right? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
David asks, aside from your current and past projects, what band would you like to play drums for?
What band would I like to play drums for? Man, I mean, to sit in and play with fucking Zeppelin would just be insane,
Right.
I got this concert that they did at Wembley 4 or 5 years ago with Jason Bonham on drums, man. It's just really special and really cool. And, John Bonham had some of the greatest drum parts ever, and it would just be fun to play with, Jimmy and Robert and John Paul. It'd be cool.
That would be. Gene wants to know, he says, Vinny, when you're in the Hummingbird mode for the double kick pedals, do you tense up to achieve that, or are you very relaxed, or are you picky with your footwork like myself? Thanks for the thunder, bro.
All I can say is, anytime you tense up, you tend to press things, to rush them, and to not have that natural flow. So I try to play through everything. I'm a really hard player, but I don't want to ever get tense. So I just say, play with your regular technique that you normally use. Don't tense up and just groove right on through it, man.
All right. Mike wants to know who would be in your ultimate band. I guess build a supergroup.
Yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, Eddie Van Halen, myself, Michael Anthony or Gene Simmons on bass, and then Rob Halford on vocals, man.
Nice. Dude, nice one. Ace goes, Hancock, I got a beauty. I had the chance to ask him a question a couple years ago. I asked him how he's able to perform after drinking Black Tooth Grins all day, and he gave me the gift of knowledge of Pedialyte.
Oh, yeah.
Now
Pedialyte pickle juice, man.
Yeah, he goes, now I got to find out if there's new remedies or if he's sticking with the old reliable. Pedialyte has saved my day gig after gig. Wonder if there's new developments in the hangover repression technology.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Pedialyte still is, one of the very top ones and one of the best. And actually, my brother's the one that discovered that many years ago.
Right.
But if you'll just drink pickle juice right out of the jar, man, it eliminates cramps, dehydration. You wouldn't believe it, just a cup of pickle juice. Something about the vinegar and all that. It just goes right into your muscles, man, and it'll really rehydrate you, make you feel great. So I usually have a glass of pickle juice a day, and stick with the Pedialyte here and there on the day off. And we try to stay hydrated as we go, man. That's the most important thing, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cam wants to know, ask him about his views on legalized marijuana.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Alcohol's been legal for years, and it's definitely more impairing than marijuana. So I would just say, hey, man, smoke up and have a good time, and let's make it legal, man.
Yeah, it's amazing that people are going to jail or getting arrested for it. It's unbelievable. Still today, to this day.
Yeah.
Mike wants to know: are you a comic book fan? If so, which superpower would you like to have?
I don't follow comic books, man. It's just something I've probably lost interest in a long time ago, so couldn't really answer that.
Okay. Stephen wants to know: how many sticks do you break per gig?
I have my tech cut me a pair of sticks for each song, so we usually do 13 or 14 songs a night, and I usually go through all of those. I'll either break them, shred them, whatever, and I like to throw them out in the crowd. They're great souvenirs. The crowd really loves them, appreciates them, so I go through probably 26 to 30 sticks a night.
Wow. Good keepsake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Derek wants to know: what's the one thing you're most proud of?
Oh, man, that is so hard to put a pinpoint on. Just the fact that, I'm still doing this after all these years. I'm 52. I enjoy doing every minute of this just like I did when I was 25 years old.
Really?
Just a big kid. I do, man. I really enjoy it. I'm just blessed to be able to still be doing it, not have any kind of physical ailments that have slowed me down or keep me from being my best, So I'm going to knock on wood, keep going as hard as I can, as long as I can, man.
Nice. Curious what you're binge watching for TV shows, Netflix?
I'll tell you, man, Breaking Bad. I got hooked on that in Europe, and I just cannot believe how great of a series it is, how the storyline just goes from this to that to the other. It completely blows me away, man. So that's the one, man.
Breaking Bad. Yeah, great show. Have you ever had a near-death experience?
Many times, man. Nearly been shocked. Things like that. They definitely petrify you and really make you take a minute to take it all in and appreciate it. And life's too short for sure. We all know this, and we got to enjoy it, man. It really is a beautiful thing.
The weird thing about when times like that in your life, it almost seems like time slows down.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Comes to a standstill, yep.
Yeah. All right, I'll wrap it up with probably the toughest question I'll ask you. What has been your career highlight thus far?
Well, I mean, there's several. Obviously, being in Hellyeah, being a part of this, making what I think is the very best record we've ever made collectively as a band, undeniable. I feel really, really proud about that. Super cool to have the Phil Collins track, I Don't Care Anymore, on there with my brother's performance. For people to be able to hear him on the airwaves again in 2016 was just really big and really special. Having a #1 album in 1994 with Pantera, when the world was taken by surprise, and they were like, that overnight sensation. We're like, bullshit. We've been doing this for 7 years nonstop, all over the world, and the fans have spoken, man. We outsold Bonnie Raitt. We outsold Ace of Base. We outsold all those bands and had a #1 record, man. So that was a huge highlight. And then playing in Moscow in '92 on the Monsters of Rock to 1 million people, probably never played to a crowd that big ever again. And playing with AC/DC and Metallica, that we just put out, or just about to put out, Vulgar Display of Power. So the people that really didn't know us, didn't know anything about our music, and they treated us like Led Zeppelin, man. It was just one of the greatest days ever. So I'd say those are probably my 3 top highlights.
Yeah. What does 1 million people look like?
Watch the video, man. It's called For Those About to Rock. They look like ants, all the way to the back. I mean, you got to think Woodstock was only 200,000 or 300,000 people, so this was like triple that size,
Crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Well, right on. Thank you again for taking the time here to jump on the Toddcast in Vancouver, Vinny. Appreciate you taking the time.
Subscribe on iTunes at Toddcast Podcast.